So we need a national divorce. I want to make sure I'm very, very clear on this. We need a national divorce, she writes. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. So she's not saying destroy America. She's saying we should probably not do business with one another because we're killing each other, and shrink the federal government. Okay, everyone I talk to says this, from sick, disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America last policies. We're done. Okay, then the response, all those who support Green call to end the U.S. She didn't say that, but let's just take her. Let's just take it at her. We should separate and have a national divorce. They should have their U.S. citizenship revoked. Really? Because I know a lot of people on the left that have actually called for the USA to end, and they haven't had their citizenship revoked. So if you want to do that, let's just be consistent. Here's the way I look at things today. Remember when they said they wanted to reimagine the police? Many of us thought, no, they don't want to just reimagine the police. They want to reimagine everything. When it comes to the police, they want to reimagine the justice system, the system that we have had in place for over 200 years, the system that is dictated and designed by our Constitution. They wanted to redesign and reimagine all of that. They wanted to reimagine all of our history. They were taking down statues. They were making George Washington into a monster. They wanted to reimagine our basic way of life. Now, a lot of us thought that was foolish. Now, there is a new study out that shows the results of this, and it's been a 2-year study. And if you're a longtime listener, you know that I will admit when I'm wrong. And the study shows, right or wrong, the idea of zero bail and arrest and release, they are not foolish, as it turns out. They are extraordinarily dangerous as well. Now, common sense told many Americans, that's a disaster. You don't do that. You don't just throw something out. This is important. You don't just throw something out and say, let's reimagine. What's your plan? What are the steps you're going to take? What are you replacing it with? Now, they've been studying this since June 2021, and they are dramatic. And there's no two ways to read the results. I'll quickly just give you this. If you had a zero bail policy, it appears as though more than 70% now of those who were released without bail went on to be arrested for additional crimes. Okay? 78% of suspects released without bail were found to be rearrested for crimes. And if you gave bail, only 46% were arrested. So that's really, really clear. And this is just one thing of the reimagining of our entire system. So we know reimagining war, how that's working out for us, reimagining our military, reimagining our Middle East policy. We know how those things are working out for us. So the left, and let's go back to the police forces, the left forced a reimagining on our police forces all across the country. They got their way. No bail. They reimagined the district attorneys with George Soros. They reimagined all of it. Did it help? Did it help the criminal, or did it help the victim? Did it help black people, white people, Hispanics, the communities? Is life better in those communities for anyone? Is life safer for either the victim, the offender, or the community? Is our law enforcement better? Did it fix the rogue cop problem? Are our cops feeling like, they're not the bad guy with no one watching their back? Or do they feel like they are the bad guy and no one's watching their back? See, this goes to one piece of the entire puzzle that they have been putting together. And a society cannot survive very long with lawlessness, and a free society even less. So now that the results are officially in on just this one topic, will the cities admit they're wrong? Will they change this policy? Will mayors, governors, legislators, attorney generals rein in this grossly failed experiment? Now, my guess is no. Why? Again, I'd have to go to common sense. Couple of things. One, admitting that you were wrong is very difficult, and politicians don't usually do it. But they also have this thing with Marxism where they say the same thing after every Marxist authoritarian failure. It just wasn't done right. Well, we just didn't do it right. Okay, well, let me ask, Seattle. You had all the power. Portland, what levers did you not control? Why did it not work out well? Were the wrong people in charge again? See, the only thing you didn't have was the power to physically or permanently silence all those who opposed you. But you had the power to do that more than any time since the 1950s and the Red Scare. The reason why this won't change is because it is clear this was never a plan to make policing better. It was a plan, and it was well thought out, but it was just a plan to destroy, to tear down, and to create chaos. And they've been very successful in that plan all across America and throughout almost every portion of society. The plan to destroy the community, destroy our history, our standards, to destroy our story, to destroy our power as an individual and our power as a country, far as, domestically, our power as a country with foreign relations, and our physical power. They've destroyed the relationship between parents and teachers, parents and the state, parents and their doctors, while destroying the stability of childhood by refusing reality and confusing reality with fantasy, by destroying logic and reason and empirical truth and replacing it with activism, slogans, relativism, and dangerous lies. So we have our proof on the reimagining of the police. We have it in a study, but we know the proof on so many things. I mean, anyone with common sense knew this would be the result of no bail. How long will Americans of all political stripes, those Democrats, Republicans, independents, all of us, how long are we going to wait before we demand at the local, state, and federal level that they end this wanton destruction of our entire way of life? We are not safer today in most of our cities now. The world is in much greater danger now because we have reimagined the truths that have kept our military strong. We are economically in peril, the dollar value, because we're reimagining what it means to print money. Our borders are not secure. Our citizens are not in charge. They're not listened to many of the times. Is our government even engaged in the basic tasks that we, the people, outlined for them when we, the people, established the government? Because we told them in writing that we were just lending them our power in order to, quote, form a more perfect union. Are they moving toward a more perfect union or a divided union? We told them we would lend them our power to establish justice. Is justice being served, or is justice being redefined against the people's will? Are they ensuring our domestic tranquility, or are they the source of a lot of our problems? Providing for the common defense, promoting the general welfare. Are they securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity? Are your children going to be freer than you are? Boy, I would say that is a big no. So I don't know if they're even engaged. I contend that they've not just failed on this job, but they have become hostile to the meaning and purpose of that job. And we let them. But our founders knew that this would happen. They knew we would tolerate it up to some point. From the Declaration of Independence, all experience has shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they're accustomed. We're used to this. And it's still, life goes on. I'm still free to go to the movies. I got a job, whatever. So we tolerate too much, but that's expected. But we told them that their job was to secure the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Governments were instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. But it goes on. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, not a period, a comma, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So what they're saying here is you have to build the net to fall into. You have to show what you're going to replace it with. And you'll notice that anyone who says, I don't want to replace it, I want to live by the Constitution, are deemed radicals. And those who want to reimagine everything are not radicals. Well, that's an upside down world. They said, prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, now listen to this, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces, otherwise known, shows clear evidence, a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off this government and provide new guards for their future security. Now, that's a fascinating phrase. Think of that. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, so things that are happening that are destroying your freedom, your way of life, our Constitution, and they're all ending the same way. Has anybody you've ever heard? Hey, how come? This is a mistake. This is a mistake. This is a mistake. How come there's never a mistake that goes the way of the Constitution for America? That's a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object, the destruction. And when you have clear evidence that this is a design, this isn't just happenstance, there are people designing this that put us into absolute despotism, then you have a right and a duty. So the two questions remain. Do you see a long train of abuses and actions that are trying to destroy your rights and powers? Do they all point to the same object, to the same direction, to destroy our system of rights, checks and balances, justice, security, to give us a completely new form of rule and society? I think the answer to that one is clearly yes, but it may not be for those who have their heads in the sand and are not paying attention to the news. Have we, the people, been informed and involved in those decisions? Because if we were all doing it and they were sharing and saying, look, we're going to do this. We want to abolish these rights in the Constitution. We want to make sure that we have a administrative state and Congress is irrelevant. And we all talked about it openly, and we all decided that would be different. But that's not what's happening. More in just a second. So do we have a long train of abuses and actions trying to destroy? Have you been involved in it, or have you been lied to? Have you been diverted, silenced, gaslit? Have you been told things like ESG and the Great Reset are fables, lies, disinformation, conspiracy theories, and now see that they are not that? And how many times have you been told one thing by your government, and then you realize they are actually doing that? Have they allowed chaos to breed and burn on our streets, only to excuse those with a torch and then discredit and silence those people, call them terrorists, when they're actually law-abiding citizens who are just standing up and saying law and order? Has the government grown past their constitutional restraints? And has it been to enhance and secure your individual rights, or has it been to chain you while freeing those who are in bed with government? And are all of these abuses and actions pointing the same direction or not? Now, you have a right and duty, but that's only the first question. How? What is that duty? How do you do it? Now, this is where everyone stops. This is where everybody says, we got to separate and have a national divorce. And others say, that's traitorous, that's treason. Well, that's because people aren't answering the second question. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are very clear on your rights and your duty. But the second question is how? What does that mean? Answer next. So we have been talking about the national divorce. It's trending again today. And people are arguing back and forth. You're a traitor if you say that. Well, you're a traitor because you're trying to destroy America. Let's just use some logic and reason here. Okay, nobody wants a war. If there is a war between the states, those don't usually end well. In fact, I think ours is the only one that's ever ended well. But it won't end the same way this time because we are not the people our founders were. We have to decide, first of all, is there a pattern or a long train of abuses? Is there a pattern all pointing to a design to destroy your freedom, your rights, as outlined in the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence? If you decide that, then you have a right and responsibility, according to the Declaration of Independence. But now what do you do? What do you do about that? Red and blue separate? Okay, what does that even mean? Because if Texas decided to secede, I would not live under a state unless it was under the framework, the exact framework of the Constitution and the mission statement of the Declaration of Independence. So in other words, I would not tolerate anything being changed except a reset back to factory settings. If you want to write a new Constitution, I'm not in, because I support the Constitution of the United States. Okay, I will do everything in my power to protect and defend that. So I don't really see, myself at least, as leaving the United States of America. I think the United States of America, the power structures, have left the United States of America, not me. I still believe in the same values that we've had since the Revolution and the beginning of the Republic. So what does that mean exactly, the national divorce? Now, build a dual economy? This makes sense on so many levels. First of all, we have seen that the economy, our banking system, our trade with one another has become weaponized by the United States government through public-private partnerships. The things they couldn't do because they were constitutionally restrained, they have gotten corporations to do. Well, that's a usurpation of the rights in our Constitution. So, no, I don't want to live that way. And until they will reestablish the proper role of government, we should do everything we can to ensure we don't need their corporations, the government's corporations, to survive. But this makes sense in so many ways. Look at what COVID taught us. We are not independent. We are not independent as people. We are not independent as communities or states. We will all perish if there is a global trade shutdown. We should be rebuilding our manufacturing, our skills. We should be able to survive locally. So having a dual economy is really smart. So you have a right to do this. You have a right to discuss this. You have a duty, it says in the Declaration of Independence, to throw off the chains. But what is that duty? What does that mean? Because remember, there's a comma, not a period. You have to replace it with something that you think is going to be better. Now, I can't think of anything better than the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. Can't think of anything better that would protect them. You just have to actually use those things. See, it's our duty to not only throw off the chains and not act as terrorists or to become what we despise. It's to work together as a people to throw off the chains and organizing such powers that will be more likely to protect those rights. So that's not a terror group. From Antifa to the white supremacists that offer nothing more than chaos, slavery. You have to have a plan before you follow someone or you say, let's just shirk off these chains. You can't. What's your plan that ends up being more safe for individuals and their rights? I haven't heard that plan. You see, there is a plan on the other side. They are building the framework of a global community. They are building a global government. They are building a new currency that will monitor you. They are building the authoritarian state. And there's a very well-crafted, well-designed plan that, quite honestly, is genius. They didn't collapse us first. They're collapsing us as the power grows. They start to put in ESG. And as that takes root, they collapse us a little bit more. And so it's a controlled destruction. Well, you don't just destroy that and expect everything to go well. What is the framework? So when somebody says we should secede or we should have a national divorce, what do you mean by that? What is the framework? What are the states? What is their government like? The first thing we have to do, if you believe there are usurpations and a long train of abuses that point to despotism, we must first reestablish our first citizenship. Otherwise, this is America's cornerstone, God. If you live up to those laws first, start with the first, hey, how about the 10 Commandments? If those are too difficult, how about the Golden Rule? Okay? Live up to those laws first, because that will give you reason, clarity, and divine inspiration to reestablish this experiment and the guardians to guard those rights. In the meantime, know that the design is real. The design to destroy this is real. And so we all have a duty to stand up. But what? We stand up for the restraint on current power. We're not against, we're for the Bill of Rights. Why are we always saying we're against this? We should be saying, no, that's a violation of the Bill of Rights, and I am for freedom of speech. We need to stand for people like freedom caucuses. There should be a freedom caucus in at least 25 states, and they should be powerful. Texas doesn't even have one. How is that possible in a state this red? Because this state, the GOP, has gone corrupt. We need to stand as long as the Freedom Caucus stands for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Ohio, stop waiting for the feds. What are you waiting for? Why did the governor wait so long? What, the governor has absolutely no power? I mean, I swear, I'm going to get him a little bracelet that says, what would Ron DeSantis do? Just look at it every day. You think he's waiting around? Take care of your own people. You look mousy and quite frankly, un-American. Now, we need to stand up in all cases against lies. Now, that's hard. In all cases against, do not tolerate lies. This is the easiest thing you can do. Do not go along to get along. That doesn't mean agitate. That means, no, I'm sorry, that's not true. Get involved in your anti-ESG legislation on your state level. Work for fair access laws, which empower you, not the Attorney General, but empower you to go after ESG. Now is the time to support candidates that will throw the rhinos out. Now is the time to decide, am I supposed to run? Am I supposed to help somebody who is running? In 2024, there should be strong Bill of Rights and constitutional candidates. Not radicals, not crazy people. People who know the Constitution and Bill of Rights and will walk through fire to reestablish that. Mitt Romney should have a challenger right now. Kevin Cramer in North Dakota should have a challenger. Does he have a challenger? Is the GOP or the freedom-loving people there? Are you working on this? Roger Wicker of Mississippi. Deb Fischer in Nebraska. These senators can be flipped, but you better have a good candidate. And you should be working on it right now. We don't need to separate. We need to find things that we all pretty much agree on. And this insane march to war is something that should be universal. We should stand up against the march towards war. Stand up in your local community. You want to make a difference? Start a farmer's market if you don't have one already. You want to make a difference? If you have one already, go shop the farmer's market. Go find a church that is actually engaged, not necessarily in politics, but a church that is teaching what our pilgrims knew that made them a danger to the king, which is there is no king but God. I answer to God first, not men. And the flow of power goes God, man, government. Government is last and only empowered by man to protect the rights given to him by God. This is what we need to do to save our country. But if I boil it down to one thing, it would be getting you and your family right with God. God is the only answer at this point. If we do not have his favor, we do not survive. This is a divine and sacred land. This land, is it a coincidence that freedom was established here and all of this land? We have everything we need to be independent and free and be a beacon on a hill for all the world to see. This is how it can be done. This is how man can live with one another in peace, in harmony. We get it wrong, and sometimes for long periods of time. But as long as the people understand they have the power to correct those wrongs and go back to the system that was divinely inspired, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence, all of the answers that you need are in those documents. So, should we have a national divorce? I wouldn't be against it, but I'm the one that's keeping the kids. I think we're the ones that, need to make sure we're not the ones that are violating the rules of this marriage. You are. You're the one stepping out on us. I'm living by my marriage vows. I'm living by the rules of the Constitution. And if your state is not, start standing up and demanding that they live by the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the U.S. Constitution.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to our channel so you'll be sure to see similar videos from BlazeTV with the added bonus of signaling YouTube that your voice and opinion still matters. And if you're looking for more great conservative content, check out one of the 2 videos suggested here. And let's go, Brandon.